Hi, this is Audrey from Creative Creations by Audrey. Today I'm bringing you a first-time tutorial on how to make a micro mini. I had seen a video, can't remember what her name was, but she did a quick little video on this little micro mini here, and I just loved how it came together. So, and I'm putting these in some altered boxes that I've been making. Just something, to sit on your shelf, and you can put the little book with it, you can put it inside of it or whatnot. The one that I'm going to show you today is done a little bit different. It's done bigger for another box that I'm currently making or have already made out of a Matchbox. It opens up a little tight, and the book's going to sit right inside there and sit up on my shelf in my bedroom to match some other stuff that I had just recently made for my room. So this is what we're going to do, is you're going to cut 2 strips of 3-inch by 12-inch strips. You're going to score every 2 inches, so it would be 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10, and it'll give you like a little mountain fold, or quite like the W. Okay, you're going to score that, and then you're going to fold one way and then the other way, all the way across, like so. I've already gone ahead and inked all my edges on both of them. You're going to need 3 joining strips. Now these are cut at 1 inch by 3 inch, folded in half. I've already prepared 2 of them. I cut them on an angle, so it's a lot easier when they're folding. And all you do is, let me move this out of my way, is fold it in half, take your scissors, and just take a nice little sliver off each side. Okay, like so, and it gives you nice little points. Alright, I went ahead and I cut all my mats for my paper, inked all my edges. The mats are cut at 2 7/8 by 1 7/8, and it'll give you a nice little border around each little page. Okay, I've gone ahead and inked all my little photo mats for inside. Your covers, back and front. Okay, I've taken some of my Tim Holtz Distress Paint and inked around. I had originally tried the vintage photo around it, didn't like how it was looking, so I kind of went over it with some of the, I think it's black soot. Yep. So I'm going to do the other sides in a little bit and let those dry. You're going to need a brad, some either crochet cotton, some thin type of thread. I went ahead and I took some of my antique white and I took some of the black soot distress ink and just kind of like painted over my thread to give me a nice black. You're going to need your hole puncher, or I use the Tim Holtz pick thing and my punch pad to punch holes into the covers after, to put your brad through and to string your string through. Alright, your covers pieces for your mat pieces for your cover, they're going to be cut at 3 3/8 by 2 1/8. I'm sorry. And your chipboard little covers here, they are cut at 3 1/2 by 2 1/4. So it's going to be 3 1/2 high and 2 1/4 wide. Okay. So now I'm so sorry, I'm nervous. This is my first one in a long time that I've done. On your, well, we'll do the binder, the spine afterwards. Alright, so what you're going to do with these here is, I'm using glossy accents. You can use the Scotch quick dry adhesive. I really prefer to use a wet glue. So either I use my glossy accents or my quick dry Scotch glue to do this. Okay. You're going to put glue on both sides here. Oops. And what I love about using this is you don't really need a lot of glue, and I'm not going down exactly into the score line at all. And I should have also did this first. You want to make sure you line these two up perfect. Okay. And you're not going to adhere this straight onto that score line. You're going to stay a little bit above it. So also I have inked the strips as well, because a little bit of it might show through. And then you're just going to fold that over. Make sure you get all excess glue off of there. Let it dry real quick, and this dries pretty quick, so it's a nice glue to work with. And if you can see, there's a little strip right in the center where you can see the joining strip. Now on each one of these, they are also inked all the way around, and you're only going to put glue on one side at this time. Okay. And again, you're not going to take it right down to that score line. You're going to stay a little bit above it, because if you go right on that score line, you're not going to get a nice, it's not going to want to fold right, and it'll be a little hard, and it might stick up a little bit. You also have a little bit of play working with the wet glue than if you would if you were using score tape or your tape runner. With the tape runner and everything, and tape runner and score tape, they stay wet, they don't ever dry, so that's how come you want to use a wet glue, is because it'll dry completely. And you just flip it over. To ink all my edges, I did use the Vintage Photo ink pad, just because I'm using darker colors, so, and it gives a nice antique look to my edges when I'm using the browns and the blacks. Alright, and the last side, again, not to the score line, just a little hair above it, maybe like a 1/16 of an inch above it, and there you go. Okay, and you're going to fold this all back up. And you might notice it might not be completely even all the way, because sometimes when you score and fold, they don't come lined up. But I think that adds a little more to the vintage look sometimes, especially with these little micro minis. Now these two flaps here, you're going to use later on to add to your cover. So they're kind of like a joiner to your covers. All right, real quick, I'll just show you. All I did was I took my black soot ink and just kind of went around. And I normally keep baby wipes and paper towels near my work area, because then I can clean up real quick in between painting, and so it doesn't get onto the other projects. So let me just jump up here for real quick and grab a baby wipe. Alright, so while those are drying, at this point you can either start layering your mats on. I'm going to do mine later because I haven't quite figured out which way I want to lay them yet. But now I'm going to form the pockets. What I'm going to do is glue across the bottom and up one side. Okay, so a nice thin strip. Sorry if my hand's in your way. Right down. And then I'm gonna fold this over, give it a nice press. Hold it for a little bit so it'll start to adhere. And there, I formed my first pocket. And again, across the bottom. I'm actually going to flip this around. Across the bottom. And up the side. And fold. Now, the one thing I did not do for the tutorial is I did not make my tags that are going to go inside my pocket because I wanted to wait and see what size I was really going to need when I was all done. So I will make sure that I add those into the comment box later for you. But I always like to do my tags because sometimes I make them different. I don't make them to exact fit inside. I might make them a little smaller, might make them a little taller, depending on the project. Normally I do at least a 1/4 of an inch or an inch taller than my project, depending what I'm using it for. And this one I just messed up on. Yes, I did. So I'm going to actually let that dry a little bit because I added the glue in the wrong spot. So that might be a little problem. But you know what? You learn from your mistakes. And you can see, we all make mistakes. Crafting is not always 100% perfect. So, and I wish I knew how to fast forward, because then I would stop and fast forward, but I am so new to this, I haven't figured out how to do that yet. And there you go. Your little book is put together. See, my flaps aren't even with each other, but I'm not too worried about that because you're not really going to be able to tell once you get it into the book. So there you go. Now you have your pages. It ends up being 6 pages and 12 spots for pictures, journaling, and 6 compartments for tags. Alright. Now I'll put that aside. I'll let that dry up a little bit. And let's see, what's the next step here that I have to do? Oh, I have to ink my edges here. And my husband made me these little handles for my ink for me. So that way I don't have to keep switching out with my one. And I can just leave my ink pad on. I do have, I keep a little box near me that if I run out of a handle or something, I can always put my little ink pads into a bag, and they're marked what ink that they go to, so that way there's no confusion, and you know, it's a little more organized. So I just finish up inking these. I just recently reorganized my craft room, so I'm kind of still trying to remember where I put everything. Now when I do my covers, I do use my ATG gun, just because these I'm not too worried about, you know, coming apart. They're not, you know, binding or anything like that. But when I do here my strips to my covers, I'll probably go ahead and use some of my score tape to do that, because it makes it a lot quicker and I don't have to wait for the glue to dry. And there's like, you know, and all I'm going to do is just put a strip on each one. Again, and that's what I love about the score tape, is you can just put it down and tear it. And then of course I have a bone folder that I normally have on me, and I just push down, give this a nice crease on here. Well, not a crease, but kind of push it down, give it extra little adherence. Now I'm going to remove one side. Bring over. Line this up to where I think I want it. I'm trying to keep even space on the top and the bottom. Do the back side. Same. This here you can actually now line up the covers if you wanted to. And there you go. Now you have your back and your top, back and your front, and your book opens like so. Just like that. Now you can either add this now, and what you're going to do is you're going to just glue on this one side. Now with the binding, what I did is this is actually cut at 1 1/4 by 3 1/2. It's scored at 3/8 of an inch on each side. So what I do is I score at 3/8, and then I flip it and I score at 3/8, and then I fold it in half as well to give it kind of a rounded look. And what you're going to do is you're going to put your adhesive here and here, and you're just going to add those like so to the book, and then you're going to have a little opening there. Okay, so, and I do use wet glue here as well, just because it's going to have a lot of pull on it sometimes. Depends on how many times you're going to pull this book out. My little one from my first one has been pulled out quite a few times just for demonstrations, showing people, taking it to shows and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead, add my glue. And usually I do one side at a time, and that way, I am so sorry if I'm discombobulated. I don't mean to be, but it's my first one, and I'm a little nervous. Alright, so now I'm going to press that down, remove some of the excess glue, and go ahead, put glue on the back side here. I'm staying away from the score lines. I don't want to cause any more tightness to them. I kind of like making sure that they, this one's not as even as I thought it was. Alright, it's not really going to show, it's not going to be a big deal, but alright, so there, that's what it looks like so far. I'm going to use the flower print on the front. Now you can even make it so your binding comes over the front a little bit to cover the edges of the paper. I kind of switch it around per project, so it's up to you. It's your choice, whichever way you want to do it. So let me grab my ATG gun. And if you can see, there's my measurements. And what I'll do is I'll find the original video that the small one came from. This one here, I altered the size of it just because. Okay, sorry about that. My camera shut off on me. Like I was saying, I altered this to be a little bit longer. It's the same width as the little one, but I made it higher just because I wanted it to fit more into the box. So now I'm not going to put the inside mats on just yet, because now I'm going to show you how the brad is going to go. How the brad comes into this little project. And see, it looks getting there. Alright, so now I'm going to bring over my little punch pad here. My little close to my heart. I used to be a close to my heart demonstrator, so usually I would probably have done this before putting it all together, but I kind of skipped it. Now, there's no rhyme to reason, but you can pick wherever you want this. I try to center it and give it, you know, enough of space where it's back far enough so it doesn't get pulled. And then I take my brad and I punch it through while I'm still on the mat, because it kind of helps hold it in there. Now what you want to do is you kind of want to keep a little room when opening your brad. And normally I have fingernails, but my fingernails are all broken. And I don't know if you can see, but there is a little bit of room in there, and because that's where you're going to wrap your string around. So, and then I'm going to flip around to the back, and normally, yeah, this is why I would do it before putting it together, so I could line it up. And I'm just going to try to get it as even as I can. Poke another hole and get my string. It's a lot easier if you have a needle that you can kind of thread this through. I couldn't find any of my needles, so I'm going to try to do this. There we go. Now you can either secure this with a piece of tape or even glue it down. You don't have to tie it. And actually, you know what, I think that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to actually secure this with some tape. Maybe a little glue, kind of help it hold there. Glossy Accents is a nice glue to work with. I'm just going to use this very little piece right over the top. And that way it's got a little bit of double security there. Alright. Normally I would tie it a couple of knots like she did on her video. But I think this might work a little bit better. And then see, all you're going to do is wrap it around a couple of times around that. And it helps hold your book. There we go. And there, I have enough to do another little book. My daughters love these little books, and I'm thinking about trying to teach them how to make one. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my inside mats. Again, with my ATG. Actually, oops, sorry. Going to do another step that she did. To help hold this brad up a little bit so it doesn't want to push under. Add a little bit of Glossy Accents to underneath it, and it'll kind of help hold it into place. Hold it there for a little bit. Let it get some dry. I made my first one at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and my husband, he's such a joker sometimes. He's like, I bet you can't come up with something new. And I says, okay. And I took him up on the challenge, and Well, I think he learned his lesson. He's never going to challenge me again. He got up for work the next morning at 6 a.m. and he says to me, he says, remember, I challenged you to come up with something new and unique. And I says, okay. I said, I already did it while you were sleeping, and I showed him the little book. So I think he learned his lesson. I don't think he's going to try to challenge me anymore to come up with anything unique. But it's kind of fun when he does that to me. So, and right now my mother-in-law, she was up the other day, and she's the one that actually got me started with the Cricut and stuff. So she comes up and we usually share our tips and, you know, projects that we're working on. She has a different style that she works on versus what I work on. So we kind of like see if her techniques will work in my area and my techniques will work in hers. She just recently got a Cameo, so she's like really excited to learn how to work the software. And I've had mine now for 2 years, and actually just over the past few months started using it more and more. So I know a few more tricks than she does. So I was excited to be able to help her out and get her going with some things with the Cameo. But she laid down a challenge to me. She had seen a paper punch that I have that has like the snowflake in the little wind. And she challenged me. Her granddaughter and my daughter are really into the Frozen movie. So she challenged me to create something with that as my main focal point, and kind of going on the Frozen theme. So we'll see. Now pretty much all it's left to do is embellish your front, or you can just leave it blank. Add in your little mats to your album and make your tags and put them in. A little trick that I learned from the other lady was, I did it backwards. Okay. Alright, so we have a really big boo-boo. I will fix this later off screen. But here in your pockets, I wasn't paying attention. That's how nervous I am. If they're a little bit more glued over, you can actually go in with your bone folder and kind of, you know, tap it out a little bit and, you know, fix those pockets. So probably what I'm going to do with this now is I'm not going to use it with photo mats inside, the tags inside. I'm just going to actually leave it the way it is, seal up the bottoms or just leave them. But there you go. Not every project always comes out perfect your first time. This is actually my first time making this one in this size with my own measurements. So I made a big moo-boo. It's upside down, but that's okay. I'm not gonna sweat it. I am gonna just revamp it a little bit and have a nice little book to go in my drawer here. Let's see. And it'll fit nice and perfect in there. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and hope to make some more soon. Have a great day.